Hello and welcome back to the 5th episode of The Inside Line. I am your host, Gabbi Hall, digital content editor at Ski Racing Media. And if you're a regular listener, you know about our amazing sponsor, Team Ski Safe. I just got my bracelet, a pink band with a silver clasp, and Team Ski Safe bracelets are great for people involved in action sports like skiing because they make it easier for first responders to treat you effectively in the event of an emergency. I have my emergency contacts information engraved on my bracelet, and the unique ID number on my bracelet gives first responders access to important medical information I have loaded into Team Ski Safe's system. Team Ski Safe is the official medical bracelet of Wisp Sports, and you can find more information about the bracelet and the great range of colors and styles by visiting their website at teamskisafe.com. And when you order your bracelet, remember to mention the Inside Line. Now, we have a great episode lined up for you guys this week. And as always, we're going to start off with fresh tracks. And we can't kick off this section without quickly talking about World Cup at Levy. It was the slalom opener. And in case you missed it, Petra Vlhova from Slovakia won the first race of the season. And this was really exciting for a couple reasons. But, this is a repeat of her performance from the final slalom of last season at Aspen. And Mikaela Shiffrin of the U.S. ski team, has been untouchable for so many years that I think Petra's performance really sets us up for an exciting season because it means it's going to be truly competitive. Mikaela Shiffrin, I think we're certainly going to see a lot of success from this year, but we're seeing Petra and we're seeing, Wendy Holdner and Frida Hansdotter really push her and get competitive. So I think we're going to see a lot more of a mix on the podium, the slalom podium in particular this season, which makes me excited as a writer because it just makes it not only very exciting to watch the races, but gives us some more interesting angles to write about. So I hope you guys will keep an eye on what happens on the women's slalom circuit this season. I will certainly be keeping you up to date on what's happening there. But if you want full details on what happened at Levy, I will put a link to my story from that race in the show notes below the podcast. So go ahead and take a look, hear what Petra and Mikaela and some of the other athletes had to say about their performances there. And in the weeks since Levy, the ski racing world has actually descended on Colorado here in the U.S., and a lot has happened since then. And I want to start with an update on American skier Julia Mancuso. For those of you who are not familiar with Julia, and I'm sure there's very few of you, Julia is a veteran World Cup skier, highly decorated, has 4 Olympic medals. And then back in 2015, she underwent elective hip surgery. She had been dealing with hip pain for a long time. So since then, fans have been wondering, when she's really going to be able to return to competition. And from the very first press release that came out following that surgery, her plan was always to take the conservative route in her recovery. The goal was always Pyeongchang in 2018. She was never looking to make a fast comeback, but she really wanted success for the coming Olympic Games. And Julia's been back in gates for more than a year now. Last season, I ran into her a couple times on the World Cup circuit. She was working as a forerunner. She foreran at World Champs, and when I talked to her in St. Moritz at World Champs, she was still having trouble with mobility in her hip and getting into a full tuck. But since then, she's been running gates at Copper this fall. And in an interview that she did at Copper Mountain, Mancuso shared that her mobility is actually better, but some other issues have arisen recently.
My mobility and strength have gotten a lot better, so I've been able to get that. But unfortunately, the pain has gotten worse, so it's been really tough because it's hard to say. I mean, skiing's a really difficult sport, and hips are a really difficult injury, and it's just really painful. So I try to do some stuff to get rid of the pain, and I've been working on that, and I've had actually another procedure to try to numb the pain from the hip because everything really is safe, but it's just painful and degenerated a little too much, so we'll see.
And so despite that pain, Julia appears to be mentally prepared to get back into race mode. She says that forerunning got her a lot of confidence last season. She proved to herself that she could handle being back in gates, and she proved that you could get back in the start gate and be a racer again. And so here's what she had to say kind of about her experience last season getting back in gates.
Well, it was important for me to know that I was physically capable to ski a course and make it down no matter what the conditions were. So, being able to stand in the start gate and not have the pressure of a race, but have the pressure of the risk. I mean, every World Cup is a really difficult course and a lot goes into it. So being able to go through that routine where it felt more real is something that kept me going, because I knew I could stand in the start gate and make it through the finish. And even in one case, I crashed. So being able to go through those and know that I could stand on 2 feet afterwards and survive was awesome, and really gave me a lot of confidence to keep fighting and get stronger and hope for this year to go well.
And based on what she has to say there, I think the lingering question has been and continues to be, when will we see her competing for World Cup points again? And that actually could be as early as December.
I'm really hoping to start in Lake Louise. That's been the goal for me, because it's a course that I know well and that I've done really well on. So after starting training here, I've been focusing a lot on Super G. I think that downhill is a little bit further away from being competitive, but I'll definitely have my sights set on Super G, and some of the GS training's been going better too. So it's about getting my timing back and getting closer to where I know that if I enter the race, I won't be last, and with a little luck, I can get some good times and build on that through the next races. So that's really what I'm trying to do, is get competitive enough that I can feel like I belong in the start gate and really go for it.
The last time Julia raced at Lake Louise was in 2014, when she was 6th in Super G and 3rd in the downhill. And that 3rd place result was actually part of the U.S. podium sweep when Lindsey Vonn won, Stacy Cook got 2nd. And Julia has been on the podium 4 times in total at Lake Louise, 3 times in Super G. So to her point, she's had a lot of success there. It could be the perfect place to get back into race mode. And before I wrap up the bit on Julia Mancuso, I just have to give a big thanks to my coworkers at Ski Racing who were able to sit down with Julia. I was not in Colorado, but they sat down with her and got some answers for me, and I really appreciate what they did on my behalf. So also out of Colorado, as Mancuso begins to ramp things up on her end, unfortunately, another athlete has been sidelined. Italian skier Elena Curtoni was injured during training last week. She tore her ACL, will be out for the season. Huge bummer. I don't have an exact tally of how many athletes have been injured at this point in the early season, but I think as fans who follow the sport are very familiar with, we've seen a lot of injuries this preseason, which is always tough, particularly in an Olympic year when you have to wait 4 years for that to come around again. But there's been some good news out of Colorado. As we head into the next set of women's World Cup races at Killington, a lot of those World Cup athletes are prepping by racing in some North American Cups in Colorado. And those have been happening, over this last weekend and early in this week. So races got underway with slalom races at Loveland and then GS races at Copper Mountain. And in the slalom races, the same 3 ladies graced the podium both days. Things kicked off with Canadian World Cup veteran Erin Milzinski taking the win on day 1. And she was chased by teammate Lawrence St. Germain, who came in 2nd. And Lawrence is actually on the roster for the UVM Catamounts, University of Vermont, for their ski team. It's her senior year this season, and she's one of those collegiate athletes who goes between World Cup and collegiate racing. So she's definitely one to watch. In 3rd place was Liana Popovic of Croatia. And our guest today, actually on the show, Resi Stiegler of the U.S. ski team, was the top American in 4th place, just off the podium. So we'll hear from her in just a bit. And then on day 2 of slalom, the UVM skier Lawrence actually took the win. And I think she'll be a good one to watch this season. She's coming off her 17th place result in Levy at the World Cup earlier this month, which is her best World Cup result to date. So it seems like she's skiing really strong at the beginning of the season. It will be very interesting to watch how she does not only on the NCAA circuit, but on the World Cup level as well. Erin Milzinski took 2nd place and Liana stood in 3rd. And the top American in the race was independent U.S. skier Lila LaPagna, and she got 6th place. And if you haven't already, I recommend reading the story about Lila and her new team that's up on skiracing.com. It went up in the last week or so. And I'll put a link in the show notes, but it's a really interesting look at one way that an athlete who is not named to the national team is trying to make it on the World Cup. She's partnered with Cliff Bar to create Team Cliff Bar Ski Racing, and she's going to be fighting for World Cup spots this season. And she's one of several male and female athletes this season who are kind of in this boat of funding their own season. So I recommend reading the article. I just think it's a interesting way that one person is tackling that issue and securing funding. And then on Monday, things transferred to GS now that we're out of slalom, and they were at Copper Mountain, and the field was really stacked, and I thought this was cool. Like I said, I'm not in Colorado, but had my eyes glued to live timing, and the field had World Cup stars, including Italian Sofia Goggia, Marta Bassino, and Frida Hansdotter from Sweden. But at the end of the day, Marie-Michelle Gagnon of Canada walked away with the win, while Liana from Croatia showed her consistency with a second place finish. And then Michaela Tommy of Canada took her first podium of the season in third place. Goggia and Bassino landed in fourth and fifth, so just off the podium. And then Patricia Mangan was the top American. And looking at these NORAM results, it will be really interesting to see who the U.S. ski team names to race in Killington. Because it is a domestic race, the U.S. has a few extra quota spots to put in athletes. As of the time of recording the show, we don't have the nomination list. That should be out this week. So when it becomes available, I will put a link in the show notes so you guys have access to that. But it'll be exciting to see if anyone is selected based on these NORAM results this week to get a World Cup start that maybe we don't normally see. And on the second day of GS racing, I don't have the results yet. At the time of recording, the last race of the series is currently going on as we record. But I have no doubt that the results will be just as exciting. So keep an eye on skiracing.com. We have a NORAM writer that's covering that circuit all season. So some great stories will be coming off that circuit, and I hope you will keep an eye out. But enough about Colorado, enough about the NORAMs. I think not only the world's eyes, but especially the country's eyes right now are looking towards Killington in Vermont. And we're heading into the second World Cup at that venue. They hosted one last year just after Thanksgiving. And before this weekend's race, I was able to connect with World Cup veteran Resi Stiegler of the U.S. ski team. Now, she raced her first World Cup all the way back in 2002. So she's been around for more than a decade. She's earned one World Cup podium in slalom back in 2012. She's competed in 2 Olympic Games in 2006 and in 2014. She's someone who's been plagued by injuries throughout her career and has consistently been able to come back. And she is on the hunt for even more top 10 and hopefully podium results this season. Assuming all goes well and she qualifies, Resi is planning on competing in her 3rd Olympic Games this year. So without further ado, thanks so much for being on the show, Resi.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
How were the NORAMs at Loveland this weekend?
They were really good. I raced the first day, and the snow was awesome. It's a bit grippier up here in Colorado than it will be in Killington, so sometimes the feeling underfoot, it gets you a little bit nervous, but you kind of keep a solid thought process on what you're doing to get better for the next weekend. And I got 4th, which I'm okay with. And then the second day, I decided to rest a little bit more. And then today and tomorrow, we have GS in Copper.
Nice. And how has the training in Colorado been overall?
Really good. The snow here has been awesome. And obviously, it's a great place to train. It's really sunny usually. And they're long days, and it is high elevation, which can kind of be draining. But the whole team's here, and it gives you good energy, and everybody's here to support you. So you get a lot out of the week that you're here.
And it seems like there's cool vibes there right now because there's so many World Cup athletes on site. I mean, is that a pretty interesting way to start the season in the U.S.?
Yeah, I always think it's fun when the other teams do the NORAMs because it brings like kind of a more competitive aspect to the NORAMs that they don't always have. And leading into a World Cup season, especially this one, I think it's important to be, keep the level high. And it's great to see some of the Europeans racing with us. And then you can kind of get an idea of what, Killington might be, say, next weekend.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's good. It's good energy.
That's awesome. And when do you head out to Vermont?
We fly on Wednesday, and then we'll have either a day off or a training day on Thursday, and then Friday's usually free ski of the hill, and then we're racing Saturday and Sunday.
That's going to be awesome. So what are you guys doing for Thanksgiving? How do you guys celebrate Thanksgiving as a team?
We usually go hang out with like our family or friends. The Marshalls, who are pretty famous ski family, are going to cook Megan McJames and I dinner, so we're pretty excited to have that family feeling and someone taking us in away from home. So, we all kind of overeat usually and have a good time.
Totally. Yeah, that's awesome to have people on the road that you can hang out with on those holidays, even if you can't be with your own family, because that can be tough.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is going to be the second time around at Killington. What does it mean to be able to race in a home crowd, in front of a home crowd?
I mean, Killington was absolutely stunning last year in the way that everyone put on such a good race, and, like all the race department and volunteers and then the fans. I mean, it was incredible. Just that many people showing up at a U.S. race was, I think, for me, the first time I ever saw that. And it really showed how much people have, like, a passion for ski racing out there. And still, it's good to have that energy when you're racing. You only get one race in the U.S. usually. And to have that backing is pretty incredible.
And last year, what was the most memorable thing that happened last year? Is there something that sticks out in your mind that made the venue so cool?
Last year was, the first day was pretty tough because the snow conditions were pretty terrible. But the second day, cleared right up, and just, you can't say enough about the crowd, and the people there were all pretty excited, and you knew pretty much everyone in the crowd, which was kind of funny. Everyone had probably ski raced at one point in their life. So that was, it just felt good to have everyone there. And it's always a happy environment, whether you do well or not. And I think that's like the nicest part about racing in the U.S.
Totally. Yeah, that was really fun last year. I do feel like I ran into tons of people that, you haven't seen in like 5 or 10 years or something that kind of would work. It's really cool. We're still pretty early into the ski season, but can you tell us a little bit about how you're feeling about your skiing after Solden and Levy?
Yeah, I'm okay with how it's going. It's just the beginning, and I think you start to like judge the first couple of races a little bit too hard when you're actually trying to peak in February. So I think taking a step back and realizing you're doing the right thing and you're on the right track is important, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing the NORAMs, is to try to kind of wake up the race day energy, because my training's been really good and I made that next step and that improvement that I wanted to from last year. But then sometimes you get in the gate and you're like, oh, what's happening today? And it's like, oh, it's race day, let's get going. So
totally.
I've had good sections that show that I am fast, and my training still looks good. So I think that I just have to stay positive and keep going the way I'm going.
Definitely. And it's interesting that you bring up this idea of peaking at the right time, particularly because it's an Olympic season. So you don't want to peak in November. You want to peak, 3 months from now. Is there any way, do you approach the season differently because of that in terms of your training or anything like that?
One thing you just kind of check, for me especially, is just how rundown you're getting, and just make sure that you're not overdoing it to cause any exhaustion. Another thing is not panicking on those first races. For me, I'm not the athlete that's going to win the first race and the last race and the one in the middle. Mm-hmm. I have like a definite, I'm just that athlete that has like a block that I'm going to win everything. And then I usually fall off before or after a little bit. So for me, I definitely do have a peaking, thing. And so you can kind of time it right, but you also might just completely miss it. And then you have to go off a little bit of luck, but it is mostly about fatigue and managing that.
So on this Olympic note, I'm curious, have you been to South Korea before? Will this be your first time?
This will be my first time. I've never even really been to Asia I went to, like a couple of times. I've never gone to like Japan to ski or anything like that. So this South Korea trip's going to be cool.
Is there anything in particular that you're most looking forward to about exploring that culture or part of the world?
I love everything about a new place. I want to see, I like to see the landscape. I like to see I mean, it's so cool that we get to ski race because you get to see like the mountains and go see this whole other part of it, not just like a city. But I'm also excited to see, the towns and then the food and the people and the way they dress. I love like taking all of that in and experiencing. It's kind of cool to experience something so new.
Totally.
Russia was a bit like that as well. I had never been before. And so to like observe everything, I really enjoy that. And then it's so cool that it's the Olympics and it brings this story that you'll have forever, and that time you went to South Korea, which is probably not something you would normally do.
And while you're there, I mean, outside of your time competing and in the Olympic Village and all of that, will you have any time to go maybe explore like Seoul or anything like that?
I would like to. I'm definitely up for any exploring, any adventures. If anyone wants to come, I'm ready to go.
Everyone, contact Resi Stiegler, Instagram, Facebook.
I know. I'll have like a tour group going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll come follow along.
Yeah.
And you talked about this passion for travel, and you also mentioned that it's sort of important to manage the fatigue throughout the season. I'm curious what kind of hobbies you have that you take on the road to help you decompress between races.
I'm really obviously into photography. I love writing and reading. We try to have my teammates Nina and Trish right now. We've been having an awesome year so far, and we try to bring in Lauren Ross and I used to always do creative hour. Mm-hmm. I kind of actually do it at home, and it's like arts and crafts day on a rainy day, but we bring it on the road. And I think it's so important to kind of switch off ski race mode and not watch video and not, and obviously we try to go have a coffee or go explore a castle, or if you're in a new city, like go out to dinner and have like a meal out in the city and kind of experience something new. But a lot of times we're in these tiny little ski towns up in the middle of nowhere, and there's not a lot to see. So we try to bring, journals, and some girls play instruments, and then we kind of just all like put it together and try to, dabble into something new and try something and kind of get your brain thinking on a different wave, which is important, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think I don't know if you were there, but I saw some Instagram stories from Copper where I think Jackie Wiles was drawing like a lion, and there was some crafting happening, which is pretty cool. And
it's really fun.
And you mentioned your teammates, and they're quite a bit younger than you. I mean, what's that dynamic like within your team?
It's so funny. This is my favorite story so far. Nina is the cute. I love them. They're 19 and 20, and they're awesome. I'm like, could I have had ever, like, these are the best teammates I've had in years. And they're just so passionate and hardworking and love everything, but they're, they're focused at the same time. And we were in Target the other day, and I was like going down the aisle, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's new cleaning supplies, and like scent. And Nina like looks at me and she's like, oh my gosh, she's like, I forget that you're not the same age as us. I'm like, yeah, dying. I was like on the floor laughing so hard. I think most of the time I act and I'm pretty young in spirit. Everyone thinks I'm like the young one, and then they're like, oh yeah, you're getting your house ready for winter. you're buying like hen towels on sale.
Right, a very different Target experience.
Yes, that's about the only time I'm like, oh yeah, we are not the same age at ski camp as we are in real life. But it's good. It's good for me. I really enjoy having the younger girls around because I want to keep ski racing for as long as I can, and I have no like end in sight. And I think the only way to stay young is to kind of like think young. And these girls are, they are focused, and they're not immature. They're very mature, and they work really hard. And it's good to have that, both energies like that on the hill and off the hill. So
that's awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me, Resi. I know you have some busy days ahead, but good luck, and I will see you in Killington.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. It'll be a fun weekend.
Thanks again, Resi, for taking the time to chat with me. This concludes the 5th episode of The Inside Line. And if you guys are loving this podcast, please leave a 5-star review of WIS Sports Radio on iTunes. You get extra kudos if you leave a review and aren't my mom and dad. I also welcome any ideas for guests or issues you'd like to see discussed on this podcast. Feel free to leave a comment. Tweet me at Hall_Gabby. Find me on Facebook. I am open to suggestions. More episodes of The Inside Line can be found at wisports.com, skiracing.com, and just about anywhere you listen to podcasts, including iTunes, the Google Play Store, TuneIn, Stitcher, and Spotify. Just search for WisSports Radio with over 700 episodes across 30 unique shows and a global audience of 1.5 million. WisSports Radio is the largest network of podcasts for women's sport. I'll be back in just 2 weeks' time with an update after the ladies' speed races in Lake Louise. I hope you'll tune in again. Thanks for stopping by.